Now, Paul and Eddie, hang on, because we have Governor Jeff Landry's going to come on and say a few words. Jeff, welcome.
All right, Governor, we're going to put you on microphone at the luncheon.
Jeff, you're at the Reagan luncheon.
Yeah, okay, well, listen, thank you. I'm up in D.C. We're up here for the case tomorrow, and it's my appreciation that there's been a representation that, for whatever reason, we didn't represent the 2022 map. Look, I think that it's very important to understand that the only reason that this case is before the Supreme Court, the only reason we have an opportunity to make great strides is because of the hard work that Liz Murrow and I have been doing while I was the Attorney General. In 2022, we defended the map all the way to the Supreme Court. In fact, the Supreme Court had actually, remember that Judge Dick had ruled the map unconstitutional? We got the Supreme Court to rule, to stay that decision while they took the case directly up when alongside of the Alabama case, which is the Milligan case. So both of those cases were before the Supreme Court. We thought that they were going to make that decision and get it right at that time. They did not. They doubled down on jingles. They ruled in Milligan, and they sent that case back down to the court, which is when it comes back down to the court. Judge Dick again rules the map to be unconstitutional. We take it up to the Fifth Circuit. During the governor's election, the Fifth Circuit agrees with Shelley Dick and gives us a very, very short fuse to draw a district. If we do not draw an additional minority-majority district, the judge was going to draw the district, and it would have endangered Speaker Mike Johnson and Steve Scalise's district. That is very important because that information seems to be missing in many of those that are writing about it. That had we not come in and drawn a second majority-minority district, Judge Dick, right there in that room, would have drawn both a second majority-minority district into our map and most likely have damaged the districts that Speaker Mike Johnson and or majority leader Steve Scalise had. So we come in and we draw. And it's important to recognize we don't draw the map that the Democrats in the legislature wanted. That's another very salient point. We go in and we draw the map in order to get this case before the court. And so if anyone deserves any credit for this case being before the court, it is both myself and Attorney General Liz Murrow. It's not any of the lawyers. It's not any of the lawyers in the Conley. It's not Nancy Landry's lawyers. It is primarily a work of 10 years of litigating redistricting cases that have brought us to this point. And I also mentioned that since we were the only ones, as Attorney General, and with Liz as the Solicitor General, who's now our Executive Counsel, we successfully brought a challenge to a minority-majority district judicial challenge down in Terrebonne Parish, where they wanted to force the state to draw a minority-majority district in Terrebonne Parish, and we successfully were able to defeat that. So we have a record of standing up against those Section 2 violations. What is causing all of the confusion right now is the fact that the court has finally allowed us to ask the question that we've been trying to get before the court for the last 10 years. And that is that Section 2 is unworkable when you sit it alongside of the Constitution. So I'm happy to take any questions as well.
Governor, this is Woody. I want to go back to the special session January of 2024 and what the actual status of the case was. And I want to read what the Fifth Circuit ordered. Can you hear me okay? It said, here's what the Fifth Circuit actually ordered. It said, if no new plan is adopted then the district court is to conduct a trial and any other necessary proceedings to decide the validity of HB1 map, and if necessary, to adopt a different districting plan for the 2024 elections. The parties can advise the district court as to the necessary timing for completion of such a trial, with allowance for time for appellate review. So actually, the Fifth Circuit had ordered a trial with time for the state to appeal any decision she might make. We were not under an order to have a second black district. The district court was under an order to have a trial on the matter. What was your thought?
What you fail to recognize is that Judge Dickett already, in a summary proceeding, had the trial. That's the part that you're missing. You can't just read after. You have to go back in the court records and realize where the disposition of the case was. I'm sorry, it doesn't fit your narrative, but that's exactly where we were. And and here's the thing, she would have jammed that map down our throats, and the Fifth Circuit had already sided with her. Not once, but twice. Go back in the record. And so the only way to get this case, let me explain something else to you. If we'd have done it your way, we'd still be fighting Section 2. Just to let you know, let's just say that you're right, but you're wrong. Okay, but let's just say you are right. Then we would not be where we are today. This is the only way to get this case before the court. We have done what no one else has been able to do, and that is to trap the United States Supreme Court in their own rhetoric. And the greatness about it is that we're hoping tomorrow to be able to answer that question once and for all. And I'm praying that Justice Robinson has finally got himself frustrated enough to dispose of this circus of redistricting. I mean, we've spent over $40 million since 2012 alone on litigation surrounding redistricting. And it's high time to end. Alabama had an opportunity for the court, for them to dispose of the matter. The court didn't pick it up then. The court had our case. That's another important question, Peter. I mean, another important point is that at the time of the Milligan case, our case, the Robinson case, was sitting alongside the Milligan case. And the court could have easily chose our case instead of Milligan's to take it. They did not. And so that's why we are where we are. But you go back into the court records, and that's what you'll find. Is that she had already ruled the Map-Lane Constitution.
And let's let Paul, we're going to let Paul Hurd say something. Paul, do you have anything to say?
It was, the state had a tough hand dealt to it in the middle district But at the end of the day, had we defended the district, we would be here on the merits. We would be no worse off, and I'm sorry, Governor, let me just try to finish my thought. Had we defended, the only order of the position by Judge Dick was come to trial, and the state chose not to. And had we gone to trial, we would have had a district that we were proud of, the one that the legislature had initially enacted. We would have still had to fight with the middle district judge about whether or not she would enjoy it. But the Fifth Circuit, when they upheld her initial preliminary injunction, which can always be re-appealed to the Fifth Circuit, the fundamental finding that the Fifth Circuit had was the state failed to present a defense. And with the state failing to present a defense, make some silly legal arguments. There's nothing wrong with that. We're all lawyers. We all try to figure out the best way to do it. But at the end of the day, the only order by Judge Dick was, why don't we go to trial and present the evidence? Then it would have gone to the Fifth Circuit. Then it could have come to the Supreme Court. And instead, we blinked and we gave the state sanction over the district.
Okay, let's let the governor have a word here, Paul.
Paul, listen, I got a tremendous amount of respect for you, but you're wrong. Because this case would not have been where it is today. That was a Section 2 case, which means it had to go all the way through the appellate process before it got to the Supreme Court. The only way to get this thing to the Supreme Court at the time that it matters is the way that we did it, which was to give people an opportunity to make an equal protection challenge. Under the equal protection challenge, the case goes before a 3-judge panel, and it has no appellate review. It goes directly to the Supreme Court, which is where we are today. And the thing that I just find so amazing is that, we complain, we as Republicans, and this is a Reagan dinner, right? And I guarantee you, Reagan, if he was sitting in that room with y'all, would be scratching his head saying, why are we having this debate when we should be celebrating? Because is it that we're trying to figure out who gets credit for it? I mean, is that what it is? Or should we not be celebrating the fact that we are where we are today simply because of the map and the challenge that was made? If not, there's been a Section 2 challenge, and if Woody's right and I'm wrong, and Paul's right and I'm wrong, this thing would still be tied up in the courts. We probably would have a dish. I believe even if they are right, Judge Dick would have drawn the map. The court would not have cleaned it up because it had been making its way there. And so instead of arguing over semantics, we should be celebrating the fact that Louisiana has an opportunity to make a watershed decision in being able to clean up the very expensive litigation that was driven by Mark Elias and the Democrats over the last 20 years. And so, again, when I just tell you, to me, that's the thing that just amazes me, is that we can sit here and argue over ifs instead of dealing with what the facts are. The facts are, this case is before the court because it's an equal protection claim. It was taken expeditiously by a 3-judge panel. It was all premised off of the fact that the court was either going to draw a district, okay, or we had an opportunity to draw a district. I chose as the governor to have the legislature go. And the legislature could have said no. They could have. But I think they did the right thing, 100%. Every one of those Republicans that voted for it did the absolute right thing. And tomorrow, Louisiana has an opportunity to have a seminal case, and anyone who's a Republican should be extremely proud of that. So I appreciate it.
Governor, if I could, Governor, you have the option to call a special session to deal with this issue. Could you tell us what your current thoughts are on that?
Yeah, I'm trying to debate Woody, and I'm waiting to hear what the justices have to say tomorrow. That's why I came all the way up there. And then I'm going to be meeting with some folks in the White House and most likely the president to make that decision. I mean, honestly, I would like to draw a map. I'd like to have the legislature come in and draw a 5-point map, contingent upon what they decide. The president and the White House they don't want us to. I'll just be blunt. I think that at a minimum we have to move the election. I think that we either going to, I guess the better question is, to Woody and Paul, is what do y'all think, when do you think the court's giving us the decision? Do you think it's giving it to us early? Or do you think they'll hold it to June 25th?
One thing I do know, and there's only 9 people in this town that knows that they're going to give that opinion, and unfortunately it's not you or me. We'll have to wait on the Supreme Court. I was very proud of Secretary of State Landry, Nancy, in her brief before the Supreme Court. She made it very clear to this Supreme Court that we've got a calendar, tight election calendar, and she did a great job in her brief of explaining that to the court. So we're all hopeful that that's going to be helpful in getting a decision out of the Supreme Court quicker than the end of June, like they often do on controversial cases. So we don't know, but we can play the cards dealt us. We're glad to be here today, and I understand the decisions that were made, but it was one of those situations where there was an easier route to get there, and instead we're here today. And I guess it doesn't matter when you're traveling from Boston to San Francisco. It doesn't matter which trail you took as long as you get there. And so we're both hoping we can eliminate these limitations on the state districting, but equally important, eliminate racial gerrymandering.
It's been a good discussion, but we have a question, and this might be a dissenting voice. Someone I think both of you probably know, Ike Jackson, is in the room. Ike has actually ran for Attorney General, and he has a question for you guys, and we'll see what he has to say.
I've got an interview I've got to do here at 2 o'clock, and so I've got to get off the phone, but actually what I thought we would do, and that's what I, my inclination is. Look, let me just say this, and then I'm about to go. The best way to stop discriminating on race is to stop discriminating on race. That is what this is all about. The best way to stop discriminating based upon race is to stop discriminating based upon race, and to quit believing that people vote ideologically based upon their race. I don't believe that. I don't subscribe to that. I think that the Republican Party is a great opportunity to be the party of equal opportunity, and I hope to visit with y'all again soon. We'll see what the court says. Appreciate it.
Governor, thank you very much for calling in. We appreciate it very much. And Paul, do you have? Can you take a question from Mike Jackson?
Yeah, we can do it. I've got all day today. So what do we got?
Here's my question, and I really wanted it to be to all who attended, as well as everybody who participated. Can we agree that so long as we mean every word we say, when we take that pledge of allegiance, and with the prayer that was offered here today, that we can accept whatever is going to be the verdict in the Supreme Court and try to get this country and this state moving forward again, guys? Can we do that? Can we all agree that?
So, Paul, Mike Jackson said that can we agree, all of us here, all our different viewpoints, that we will take this court decision and accept it and try to pull our nation together as one people?
I'm with Ike. That's what we need to do. That's what we've been doing. And we're going to get better at it every day.